The dojo thrummed with life, a vibrant mix of sweat, focus, and excitement filling the air. It was the annual community showcase at the Dawn Lotus Dojo, a respected martial arts school tucked in the city's heart. Polished tatami mats gleamed under warm lights, and the walls, lined with scrolls of ancient wisdom and photos of past masters, seemed to hum with legacy. The crowd, students, families, and local enthusiasts, packed the space, their chatter mingling with the sharp shouts of young karateka performing kata at the center. At the back, unnoticed by most, stood Jason Statham, his lean frame draped in a plain black jacket and jeans. His eyes, keen and watchful, scanned the room, but his presence was deliberately low-key, like a blade hidden in plain sight. Statham hadn't wandered in by accident. Years ago, as a young man grinding through life in London, he'd trained in a small, no-nonsense dojo under a teacher who instilled not just technique but the quiet power of discipline. Martial arts had been his anchor long before Hollywood spotlight, grounding him through a career of staged fights and pyrotechnics. Today, in town for a film shoot, he'd slipped into the demo to honor the art that still centered him. He hadn't planned to draw attention. He preferred it that way. At the front, Sensei Kenji Sato held court. A third-degree black belt with a flair for showmanship, Kenji was a local figure, known for his dazzling moves and a charisma that tipped into arrogance. His GI was spotless, his movements sharp as he executed a spinning crescent kick to a wave of gasps from the crowd. Kenji basked in their admiration, his smile wide but his eyes sharp. As he surveyed the room, his gaze caught Statham's unassuming figure at the back. Recognition sparked. He'd seen those action films, the gritty hero with the steely glare. To Kenji, though, Hollywood was all flash, and Statham was just an actor. "Hey!" Kenji's voice sliced through the noise, sharp and taunting. The room hushed, heads turning. "Look who's here, a movie star. Jason Statham, the action guy." He laughed, crossing his arms. "Come to see real martial artists, have you? Or are you here to show us some of your fancy stunts?" Laughter rippled through the crowd, a mix of amusement and curiosity. Students exchanged looks, some grinning, others unsure. An older student, Taro, a quiet man who'd trained under the dojo's founder, frowned from the sidelines. He knew Kenji's ego often outshone his wisdom, but this felt like stepping into dangerous territory. Statham didn't react. His face stayed calm, hands resting loosely in his pockets. He'd faced worse than a boastful sensei, real scraps in rough streets, real consequences. This was just posturing. Kenji, fueled by the crowd's reaction, pushed further. "Don't be shy now." He stepped closer, his tone thick with mockery. "Why not step up? Show us what they teach in those Hollywood gyms." He spun into a dramatic high kick, landing with a flourish and a smirk. Or is it all just smoke and mirrors? The laughter grew, though some spectators shifted uneasily. A young student, Aiko, gripped her friend's arm, eyes wide. She'd watched Statham's films, but this was different, raw, unscripted, tense. Taro moved to intervene, but Statham raised a hand subtly, halting him. The gesture was small but firm, and Taro paused, respecting the silent command. Kenji's taunts didn't let up, but Statham's patience had its edges. Not from anger, anger was a weakness he'd long shed, but from respect for the art being cheapened. He stepped forward, shrugging off his jacket, letting it drop to the floor. The simple act drew every eye. His frame, compact and taut, spoke of years of real training, not just polished for cameras. His forearms, marked by faint scars from real fights, told a story no script could. The dojo fell silent, the air heavy with expectation. Statham locked eyes with Kenji, his gaze steady but not cruel. "You sure you want to see that?" he said, his voice low, gritty, cutting through the room like a quiet storm. Kenji blinked, thrown by the shift in Statham's presence. His smirk wavered, but pride held him in place. "Let's go," he said, though his bravado rang thinner now. The crowd parted, forming a loose circle. Taro stepped in, his voice calm but firm. If this happens, it's controlled. Sparring rules. No ego, no harm. His eyes flicked between the two men. Kenji nodded sharply, but Statham gave a slight dip of his head, a gesture of respect to Taro and the dojo. They faced off on the mats, Kenji bouncing lightly, hands up in a taekwondo stance, flashy but practiced. Statham stood still, posture relaxed, hands loose by his sides. To the untrained, he looked unprepared. To Taro, he looked like a coiled spring, ready to release. Aiko whispered to her friend, "This is going to be unreal." Kenji struck first, a quick jab followed by a spinning back kick, aiming to impress as much as to hit. Statham sidestepped with fluid precision, his movement minimal, almost effortless. The kick missed, and Kenji stumbled slightly, overreached. The crowd gasped, sensing the error. Kenji recovered, his face tightening, and unleashed a flurry of punches, each sharp but betrayed by his need to perform. Statham didn't block. He moved, his body swaying just enough to let each strike miss by inches. It was almost mesmerizing, his efficiency a stark contrast to Kenji's flair. Then, in a flash, Statham closed the distance. A single palm strike, delivered with pinpoint accuracy to Kenji's chest, sent the sensei staggering back. It wasn't brutal, just enough to disrupt, to say, "I could end this." Kenji's eyes widened, his breath catching. The crowd was silent, the tension palpable. Statham didn't follow through. He stepped back, resuming his calm stance, his face unchanged. "Enough?" he asked, his tone even but weighted with quiet authority. Kenji's pride clashed with his instincts. He wanted to charge, to salvage his reputation, but something in Statham's steady gaze stopped him. This wasn't an actor playing tough, this was a man who'd walked a path Kenji only performed. The realization hit hard, stirring a spark of humility beneath his bravado. Taro stepped between them, his voice steady. "That's enough. Respect to both." He bowed slightly to each, easing the tension. The crowd exhaled, some clapping cautiously, others too stunned to react. Aiko's friend muttered, "Did you see that?" She nodded, awestruck, not by the strike but by Statham's restraint. Kenji straightened, chest heaving. He met Statham's gaze, searching for scorn but finding none. Slowly, he bowed, not the sharp nod of before, but a deeper, sincere one. "I misjudged you," he said, his voice low, honest. "Thank you for the lesson." Statham returned the bow, precise and respectful. "Good dojo," he said simply, then retrieved his jacket and stepped back into the crowd, his presence fading as if nothing had happened. The demo resumed, but the atmosphere had shifted. Kenji's theatrics softened, his teaching sharper, more genuine. The students noticed, whispering about the movie star, who'd humbled their sensei without breaking a sweat. Taro approached Statham quietly as the event wound down. "You didn't have to do that," Taro said, his tone warm but curious. "Why did you?" Statham shrugged, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "The art deserves better than ego." "So do they." He nodded toward the students, then slipped out the door, leaving the dojo behind. Outside, the city pulsed, oblivious to the quiet drama within. Statham walked into the night, his steps light, his mind already on the next challenge, on screen or off, knowing some fights were won not with force, but with respect.